I want you to take a second and just think about the last three things you bought.
Yeah, just picture them in your head right now.
Right. Really picture them.
Yeah.
And ask yourself, did you buy those things because you were, I don't know, logically beaten down by this flawless, bulletproof sales pitch?
Or was it something else?
Exactly.
Well,
Did you buy them because on some level you felt a genuine connection to the person or maybe the brand that was selling them to you?
I mean, if you lean toward the connection side, you certainly aren't alone there.
No, not at all.
Even though we usually like to think of ourselves as these highly logical creatures, right? Making entirely rational purchasing decisions based purely on features and benefit.
Oh, we love to believe we're basically just walking spreadsheets, optimizing every single dollar.
Totally. But the reality of human behavior is actually quite different.
It really is. And while today's deep dive pulls from a stack of notes and excerpts from this really fascinating piece, it's titled 16, The Psychology of Trust, the most underrated sales strategy in business.
It's such a good read.
Yeah, and it just completely shatters that whole walking spreadsheet illusion we have. We're looking at how prioritizing connection, authenticity, and belief over, traditional marketing funnels translated into over $1.4 billion in live sales for the author.
I mean, a number that massive 1.4 billion, it really forces a complete reevaluation of how commerce actually works.
Right. It's staggering.
Especially in an era like ours that just seems entirely obsessed with like digital optimization and algorithmic scale.
Yeah, everybody's just chasing the algorithm. So our mission today is to decode the psychology of trust. We're going to figure out how the author's philosophy of treating a customer like an actual friend generated that $1.4 billion.
Which is just wild to think about.
It is. And here's the really crucial part. Even if you don't work in a traditional sales role, these psychological principles, they're universal.
Oh, absolutely. They apply everywhere.
Yeah, like pitching a new idea to your boss, getting your team on board with a project, or honestly just navigating your daily life.
Well, to even begin wrapping our heads around a figure like $1.4 billion, we have to fundamentally step away from the cold math of conversion rates.
Right. Leave the spreadsheets behind for a minute.
Exactly. The source material really forces us to look at the deeply human psychology of the pitch.
Yeah.
It draws this very sharp distinction between two very different forces.
Persuasion and momentum.
Yes. Persuasion versus momentum.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the author brings up this concept, and it honestly makes me think of a physical analogy.
Oh, let's hear it.
Well, traditional persuasion feels like trying to push a massive, heavy boulder up a really steep hill.
Oh, man. Just exhausting.
Exactly. It's exhausting. You're sweating, you're straining, and the second you stop pushing, what happens?
It rolls right back down over you.
Right. It inherently creates friction. But trust, according to the text anyway, is like rolling that exact same boulder down the hill.
Gravity just takes over.
Yeah, gravity takes over, creating this natural momentum. But I have to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Go for it.
Isn't the literal dictionary definition of sales trying to convince someone to part with their money? Like, how do you actually sell without persuading?
What's fascinating here is how the text breaks down the author's mindset shift before the camera even turns on.
Okay.
Because when the author approaches a live broadcast, they aren't thinking about, moving inventory or hitting some daily quota.
They're not looking at the spreadsheet.
No, not at all. They look right into the lens and actively ask themselves, what frustration brought you here today? Like talking directly to a friend.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, what specific problem are you trying to solve? They literally shift the internal narrative from, what can I get from you, to what can I do for you?
That's a huge shift. But I mean, the internal motivation changes, sure. Does the customer actually notice that, though?
You'd be surprised.
I mean, if they're just watching a screen, can they really tell if the person selling is worried about a quota versus worried about actually helping them?
Yeah, the human brain is remarkably intuitive when it comes to intent. We subconsciously pick up on, micro expressions, tone, pacing.
Body language, all that stuff.
Exactly. And the text highlights a really profound takeaway here. People don't buy products, they buy belief.
They buy belief. I love that.
Customers can instantly sense the subtle psychological difference between someone who is genuinely invested in solving their problem and someone who just wants to hit a metric.
Right. And if you sense someone is just trying to move a product, Your guard goes right up. You go into defense mode.
That's exactly it. It's a biological defense mechanism. We're wired to protect our resources. So when a hard pitch comes at us, we start looking for the catch.
Because nobody wants to feel manipulated or, taken advantage of.
Nobody. But if you sense they're trying to help you, like a friend would, that resistance just drops. The brain doesn't feel threatened, so it stops resisting and starts collaborating.
And that's where the momentum begins. That's gravity pulling the boulder down the hill. Okay, I get the friend mindset in theory, but here's where it gets really interesting. How do you actually execute that in a modern marketplace?
It's tough.
Because, let's be real, we are absolutely bombarded by polished, fake, heavily edited marketing campaigns all day long. Consumers are highly skeptical.
Oh, the modern consumer is highly attuned to sincerity, specifically because they've been burned by a lack of it so many times.
Seriously, so many times.
Authenticity used to be considered just a nice personality trait, right? Like something extra. But the author argues that today, authenticity is a measurable, strategic competitive advantage.
It makes me think of, it's the difference between seeing a fast food commercial on TV.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
Right, where the hamburger is perfectly lit, it's literally spray painted, and it looks completely flawless.
But totally fake.
Totally fake. Versus, say, sitting at a counter and watching a real chef cook a messy, delicious burger right in front of you.
Yes.
You trust the second one because you see the reality of it. The messiness is the proof.
That's a perfect analogy.
And the author talks about making this conscious decision early on to only create products that reflect reality. They mention brands like Belle by Kim Gravel and Love Who You Are.
And that desire for unedited reality leads us directly into the mechanics of live commerce, which the text emphasizes heavily.
Right, because live TV is a whole different beast.
Think about what live formats actually require, whether that's on a television network or streaming online. They completely remove the traditional safety net of marketing.
Yeah, there's no editing room to cut out a stutter.
No beauty filters to smooth things over.
No team of copywriters polishing every spoken word before you hear it.
Exactly. Live commerce delivers absolute immediacy and absolute transparency.
Which honestly sounds like a nightmare for most traditional brands.
Oh, they'd be terrified.
Right. If you're used to controlling every single pixel of an ad campaign, handing over a live mic to someone for 2 hours is terrifying.
It is terrifying, but only if your product or your pitch relies on illusions. In a live environment, honesty is disproportionately rewarded.
How so? Like, what does that actually look like in practice?
Well, the text gives a highly specific example of this strategy in action with the clothing lines you mentioned. The author talks about actively pointing out when a piece of clothing fits differently than expected on air.
Wait, really? Like pointing out the flaws live?
Yes. They will literally look at the camera and explain exactly which body type a garment works best for and implicitly who it might not work for.
That is wild.
They'll say something like, hey, if you carry your weight here, this might pull a little bit.
Wow. That goes against literally every old school sales tactic in the book.
Every single one.
Traditional logic just screams that if you tell a potential buyer, hey, this might not look good on you, you're actively turning money away. Like you're killing the sale right there on live television.
And on a purely transactional level, maybe you do lose that specific sale today. But psychologically, consider what's happening to the viewer watching that.
Okay, I'm listening.
The exact moment a salesperson admits a limitation about their product, their credibility just skyrockets.
Oh, I see. Because they're being real.
Right. The customer's brain categorizes that person as a trusted advisor rather than an adversary. They think, well, if they're willing to tell me the truth about what doesn't work, I can absolutely trust them when they tell me what does work.
It's a paradox. Highlighting the flaw actually makes the product more desirable to the right person.
Exactly. And the text notes that this level of candor compounds credibility over time.
It builds a relationship.
Yes, a long-term loyalty that is mathematically far more valuable over a lifetime than, tricking someone into a single immediate transaction.
A transaction they'll probably just end up returning anyway.
Precisely. It's a net loss eventually.
Okay, so it's relatively easy to be honest about a sweater fitting poorly. I mean, it's low stakes. But the author takes this philosophy of transparency a massive step further.
They really do.
They apply that exact same unedited reality to their own personal flaws and their own life journey.
This raises an important question, though, about the nature of trust itself. Because it's not just about the product's honesty, is it?
No, it's about the leader's honesty.
The person behind the brand has to be as transparent as the pitch.
And the source material dives into some very specific, really personal struggles here.
Yeah, it gets quite deep.
The author talks about having a highly unconventional path, like launching these massive businesses later in life without any kind of formal business background.
No MBA, no traditional pedigree.
Right. And even more strikingly, they talk about visibly dealing with Bell's palsy.
Yeah.
Dealing with that while working in a highly visible role in front of millions of customers on live television.
I mean, navigating a health challenge that affects your facial movements while your entire career relies on being on camera communicating with people, that requires a profound level of vulnerability.
It really does. But I have to push back on conventional wisdom here again.
Okay.
If you're trying to build a billion-dollar empire, doesn't showing that level of physical imperfection right on camera or admitting you don't know the traditional corporate playbook, doesn't that risk scaring away investors?
You would think so, based on how we're taught.
Right. Doesn't it make customers doubt your competence? Because we are taught from day one to fake it till you make it.
The classic mantra.
Dress for the job you want, never show weakness, project absolute certainty at all times.
It's a totally valid concern because society so often equates perfection with competence. But the author fundamentally dismantles this myth of the flawless leader.
How so?
Because in reality, perfection is alienating. Think about how you feel when you meet someone who seems to have absolutely zero flaws, no bad days, and perfect answers for everything.
Honestly, it's intimidating. Or actually, it feels a bit suspicious, like they're hiding something from me.
Exactly. It creates a massive psychological distance between you and them. If you present yourself as utterly flawless, people might be impressed by you, sure, but they won't feel connected to you.
Admiration isn't the same as trust.
That's a great way to put it. Connection only happens when people can recognize a piece of themselves, a piece of their own struggle or messiness in your story.
So when the author was on live TV with Bell's palsy, not hiding it, not taking a leave of absence to hide away, but just showing up and doing the work.
It didn't push the audience away. It cemented the relationship.
It proved they were a real human being.
Yes, navigating the unpredictability of life, just like the viewers sitting at home. The audience rallied behind that authenticity.
They saw themselves in it.
The text states it perfectly. People don't expect leaders to be perfect. They expect them to be real.
Be real. I like that.
When you allow people to see the human side of your journey, with all its bumps and bruises, building trust doesn't just become easier, it becomes virtually automatic.
You're proving you're the chef cooking the messy burger, not the polished commercial.
Exactly right.
Taking all this in, if you're listening to us right now and you're, I don't know, optimizing your email funnels or agonizing over the perfect wording on a slide deck, ask yourself something.
Yeah, take a step back.
So what does this all mean for you? Are you using that tech to scale your reach, or are you actually using it to hide your flaws?
That's a powerful question.
Because we live in a world where professionals spend an unbelievable amount of time obsessing over the mechanics.
Oh, we chase the newest digital marketing trends. We try to game the algorithm.
We try to create the perfect automated sequence so we don't even have to talk to anyone.
Exactly.
Where might you be using a perfectly curated draft to avoid just showing up as a flawed, genuine human being?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the danger of our modern business landscape is that technology is really seductive.
It is. It feels safe.
It promises scale without the uncomfortable requirement of vulnerability. It's much easier to tweak a conversion rate on a screen than to build a genuine relationship with a person.
Definitely.
But the text is absolutely clear on the future of commerce. Technology, platforms, social media networks, they're going to constantly evolve.
They change every day.
The algorithms will change tomorrow. New tools will emerge next month. But the one constant, unchanging variable in the entire equation of business is the human brain.
The hardware running the show hasn't changed?
And it won't. The core human desire to buy from individuals we know, like, and trust. That will never become obsolete.
No matter what the tech does.
Right. And the author actually codified this entire approach into a course mentioned in the text. It's called Selling with Soul.
Selling with soul. Okay.
The core thesis there is that the founders and leaders who will actually thrive in the next era of commerce will not be the ones who blindly master the newest digital trend.
Who will it be then?
They'll be the ones who figure out how to build genuine, transparent relationships at scale.
But that requires consistency, doesn't it? I mean, you can't just schedule authenticity for an hour on Tuesdays and then go back to being a corporate robot for the rest of the week.
Oh no. It requires immense consistency. And the daily willingness to treat every single interaction, like every email reply, every customer service call, every live broadcast, not as a transaction to be optimized, but as a genuine friendship to be nurtured.
Because behind every single click and behind every screen is a real person.
A real person who simply wants to feel seen, heard, and respected.
Okay, to briefly recap the journey we've been on today. We started by realizing we need to abandon that exhausting, boulder-pushing effort of traditional persuasion.
Leave the boulder alone.
Right. We explored how embracing the unedited, sometimes messy reality of live interaction, like, admitting a piece of clothing doesn't fit everybody type, how that actually compounds our credibility.
Builds that trust.
And then we dismantled the myth of the flawless leader, discovering that our personal struggles, like navigating health challenges openly, are actually the very things that build our strongest connections.
Which is such a hopeful message, really.
It is. So whether you're out there trying to launch a multi-million-dollar brand, or you're just trying to get your team to agree on a new project direction at work, remember this. People are fundamentally buying your belief, not just your product.
Which leaves us with a necessary and perhaps challenging thought to ponder before we wrap up.
I love a good thought to ponder.
If building true, unstoppable momentum requires us to treat customers like our actual friends, and if it requires us to completely abandon the immediate transactional pressure of persuading them to buy right now, how might that fundamentally alter how we measure our own success?
Oh, that's interesting.
Think about this. If a customer walks away today without buying a single thing from you, but they leave feeling deeply seen, deeply respected, and completely trusting of your honesty.
Yeah.
Is that actually a lost sale? Or is it the necessary first investment in a lifelong, highly profitable relationship?
Wow, that's a completely different way to look at the bottom line. So the next time you find yourself making a purchase, remember to ask yourself, was it the logic that won you over, or was it the connection?
Pay attention to what's actually driving you.
Think about that boulder and ask yourself if you're pushing it up the hill or rolling it down. Keep paying attention to the momentum. Until next time.